The financial statement is one of the most commonly used court forms by legal professionals, and I'm going to show you how it can be generated in family property. Now, open on my screen, I have my client's working balance sheet listing all their assets, the ownership, and their value. Now, a lot of this information may have initially been gathered by the client in the questionnaire, or you may have entered it directly into the balance sheet here, as you can see. Now, before generating the form, it's important to double check that you've got all your assets, the ownership is accurate, as well as the value, because family property will use that to calculate the total assets, the same for liabilities and also their superannuation. And scrolling down, ensure if there are any financial resources that they're also listed, and also disposed assets. You can add anything as needed using these buttons here. So once you're happy with that information, the next thing to check before generating the form is clicking on Matter Information. You can have a look at the client's general details, specifically the income and expense information, which they may have filled out in their questionnaire. So as you can see, we can see his income here, as well as expenses, and you can click on the panel to view or edit that information in full. Now, not all of this information pre-populates into the financial statement. However, it's useful to review it to help you populate the document. And as you can see, we have got a mortgage payment here, as well as council rates and strata fees. So that does populate directly into the document. The other information is more just as a reference. So now that I'm happy with what I've got here, I'm ready to go into the court form itself. Now, to do that, you can access the form using your Documents and Forms button in your header. Click on Show All Documents, or you can also access it using your left-hand menu under Documents and Forms. It's held within the court documents section here, and you can also search for it using a keyword. Now, as you can see, we've got a smart form for the financial statement, as well as Part N is its own form as well, which I'll show you in a moment. Now, to launch the financial statement, simply click on it and it will open up a smart form. Now, this smart form starts with a preamble with some helpful information and, for your convenience, some links to useful rules. And completing the court form in this way, using our smart form, is actually a lot easier than filling out the form itself. So you can go through and review what information is pre-filled. You can choose your court, who it's being prepared by. You can enter your name and lawyer code. And scrolling down here, we can see his information has pre-filled. Part B, the financial summary, those fields are grayed out because it's being calculated from other parts of your matter. So as I mentioned, this is coming from your total value of assets that your client owns, superannuation, and also the liabilities here, and the financial resources is also shown. The weekly income, we did see that in our matter information, but that can also be edited in the form itself. So scrolling down, we have got the employment information. Now, this form can actually, you can start it yourself, and then you could also send it to the client in a shareable link for them to fill out some of this information if you prefer, and I'll show you that shortly. So scrolling down, we come to their income. And you can edit that information in here, and you can also add any extra details on their income. And some of these fields are unique to this form. So once income has been filled out, it will total what you've got in the form. Scrolling down, we now have the expenses, personal expenditure in Part G. Need to fill out the income tax. And as you can see, the mortgage information, council rates, and if there were strata fees, that does populate and it converts it to a weekly amount. Scrolling down, you can also add in any extra expenses. As you can see, we have filled out child support here. You can edit that information as needed. And now question 32, if you are using Part N, it will actually populate that amount into this field here, as well as populate Part N in the document itself. And I'm going to show you that in a moment. I can see the total expenditure is shown here, excluding Part N at the moment. But just to quickly show you the rest of the form, Part I, J, K, L, M, that is all going to be pre-populated from what we have in the balance sheet. So anything that you have filled out, you can save that. It does auto-save as you work through it, and I'm not going to download it to share because I want to work on Part N. So we go back to our documents again, and this time we're going to use Part N. Now, I could click on Part N and launch it and fill it out on behalf of my client, or you can actually very easily send this form to your client to fill out. And as I did mention earlier, you can do the same with the financial statement itself. And you do that using the 3 dots. So if I click here, we can get a shareable link. Click on it and then copy it and send it to your client in an email. Now, when you do that, and the client clicks on that link in the email, it opens up Part N of the financial statement. And as you can see, it allows them to fill out all their expense information. And so I'm just going to fill out some things here as an example. So as you fill that out, it's automatically calculating the totals. And if I scroll down, it's doing a full total at the bottom there. So the client can work through that. And I'm now going to save that as the client. And that will generate an email notification to let you know that the client has completed the form. So if I jump back into my matter, I'm prompted to refresh because I've got the matter open at the same time that the client was filling it out. As I mentioned, you will have an email notification, and if you can see your bell here, Smokeball subscribers might see notifications on the left-hand side. You can see here it's telling me that Part N has been submitted. So I'm going to jump back into Part N to take a look at that now. Court documents. Now this time I'm just going to click on Part N and I can see what the client has filled out. You can also add or edit any of that information and save your further changes there. But I'm not going to make any changes to that now. I'm now ready to generate my financial statement. I'm going to launch it again. And now when I scroll down to that expense information, you can see here that my total weekly expenditure has actually updated. And if I scroll down to question 32, it is because Part N has been populated with that $700 amount. So now I'm ready to generate my document, and I can do that by clicking download. For our Smokeball subscribers, downloading this document will save it directly into the documents section of your Smokeball matter. I'm going to click on it now to launch it, and it opens up in Word. And if required, you can make further edits in this document. So now you can see that our financial statement has been populated. There are some extra sections there that you could fill out in the form itself, or you can fully complete the smart form, which I didn't quite do. But as you can see, Part B has been populated. Scrolling down, we have the employment information, the income, any sections here where there is a zero value will state nil. And scrolling down to our personal expenditure, we can see all that information. Scrolling down to Part H, we can see all the property information that has been filled out. Now, if some of these sections are blank, it may be because you haven't populated the detail sub-tab information in your balance sheet. So just ensure you check that before generating this document. Superannuation has been filled out, liabilities as well. Financial resources has been shown. Disposed assets. And now scrolling down, Part N has also been populated. And that is the document itself. I hope you've seen how family property can speed up the process of populating the financial statement.